नारायणं सुरगुरुं जगदेकनाथं भक्तप्रियं सकललोकनमस्कृतं च त्रैगुण्यवर्जितमजं विभमाद्यमीशं वन्दे भवद्भ्रममरासुरसिद्धवन्द्यं नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये देवं नारायणं नत्वा सर्वदोषविवर्जितं परिपूर्णं गुरूंश्चागीतार्थं वक्ष्यामि लेशतः लक्ष्मीनारायणं नत्वा पूर्णबोधान् गुरूनपि कुर्मः श्रीकृष्णगीतायाः भाष्यादुक्तार्थसङ्ग्रहम्. Good morning, good day everyone. This is the weekly Pratipadartha. We primarily look at the word by word meaning of the Gita Artha, Gita Shlokas. We have started this almost 2 years ago and now we are almost towards the last phase of it. We are now beginning the 18th chapter, the final chapter of the Bhagavad-Gita. Would you like to read the first shloka, Siddharth?
श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। अथ अष्टादशोऽध्यायः। अर्जुन उवाच सन्न्यासस्य महाबाहो तत्त्वमिच्छामि वेदितुं त्यागस्य च ऋषिकेश पृथक् केशिनिसूदन। अर्जुन उवाच Arjuna said, Sannyasasya, of renunciation of actions, Mahabaho, mighty armed one, Tattvam, the truth, Ichchami, I wish, Veditum, to understand, Tyagasya, of renunciation of desires, of enjoying the fruits of action, Cha, and Rishikesha, Krishna, the lord of senses, Prithak, difference, Keshini Sudana, Krishna, the killer of the Keshi demon. The Anvaya, Arjuna Uvacha, He Mahabaho, He Rishikesha, Keshini Sudana, Sannyasasya Tyagasya cha Tattvam Prithak Veditum Ichchami. Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna. Arjuna says, Hey Mahabaho, Hey Hrishikesha, Hey Keshinishudana, Sannyasasya Tyagasya cha Tattvam Pratak Veditum Ichchami. Now these are very beautiful Sambodhanas, right? There are three names that he is bringing. One, he says Mahabaho. The last time we see the Sambodhana of Mahabaho is that in the 6th chapter, where Krishna calls Arjuna Mahabaho and immediately afterwards Arjuna calls Krishna Mahabaho. Where Asamshayam Mahabaho, Mano Durnigraham Chalam, Abhyasena tu Kaunteya, Vairagyena Chidruhyate. And immediately afterwards, Ayati Shraddhayopeto, Yoga Charita Manakaha, Aptrapi Yoga Samsiddhim, Kam Gatim Krishna Gachati. At that time, Arjuna also uses Mahabaho. So it's basically both of them are calling each other Mahabaho. Now, Mahabaho as a literal meaning helps us understand that somebody who has mighty arms. And mighty arms in an idiomatic sense is also somebody who can bear a lot of responsibility. Right? He has a lot of responsibility. The last time we saw Arjuna using the word Mahabaho to Krishna is in the 11th chapter. Mahabaho, Bahubahu Rupadam, Bahudaram, Bahutamshtra Karalam. So in the Vishwarupa, when he is looking at the Vishwarupa of Krishna, of the Bhagavan, he is the 1,000-armed one. This Mahabahu is not just one mighty arm. This Mahabahu is the one who can Bibhartyavyaya Ishvaraha, the one who's holding the entire, every being on the planet, every celestial body, in the universe. He is the one who's holding them all. What is holding the earth, in its place? What is holding all the various planets in the place? That's the 1,000-armed, Mahabaho, Bahubahu Rupadam. So the one who's basically holding the entire, the cosmos through his multiple hands. Sahasra Shirsha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapat, right? He has 1,000 faces, 1,000 eyes, 1,000 basically is infinite. In this sense, when we talk about Maha, Bahu, Ananta, Sahasra, they all indicate infinite. So Krishna, the one, he's not just multiple hands, Sarvataha Panipadam. He's got the Panipada everywhere, and not just like that. These hands of Krishna are holding the entire cosmos together. Right? So Mahabaho, back to the sense of addressing Krishna that way, Arjuna has the final question. This is the final question coming from Arjuna, right, in this entire Bhagavad-Gita. And all throughout the Gita, it is the questioning from Arjuna, which is helping us through this beautiful journey, right? If not for Arjuna, the Bhagavad-Gita Upadesha was over in the second chapter with just two shlokas. The first reaction, the first response of Krishna to the Vishada Sthiti of Arjuna was just two shlokas. Klaibyama Svagamas Partha, Naitattvayupapadyati, Shudram Hridaya Daurbalyam Tektva Uttishta. That's enough. But it is Arjuna who kept on prodding, with repeated questions that led us through this entire journey of a beautiful discourse of the Gita, right? So, Mahabahu now, in Arjuna's sense, it's very, very clear, right? He is the only Mahabahu. He is the only one who is supporting it all. Hrishikesha, Hrishikanan Isha, right? Hrishikas are the Indriyas, right? And he is the one who can keep the entire pack of sense organs under control, right? And Rishi Kesha, right? Kesha means the hair, and Rishi denotes that harshatva, that happiness. Like as much as Rishika means the sense organ, Harsha also denotes happiness. He is the one who provides happiness to both Ka and Isha, right? To both Brahma, Rudra, and these are the Upalakshana, who provides the happiness through his protective hands. He is the one who is giving happiness. There are multiple ways. I'm not saying this is the only way, right? Rishi Kanam Isha is one way of looking at it, and Rishi of the Harsha Tattva of both Ka and Isha, that's another way, right? And Keshi Shudana. Keshi, the Keshi Raja, the demon Keshi, was the horse-faced, demon, right? And horses are also senses. The splurge into the sense activity. The constant addiction to the sense activities is what the horses do, right? They keep going. So Keshin Ishudana, one who kills the urge of the senses, right? In getting engrossed in the Vishaya, the experiences, the sense gratification, right? So when we look at these three names coming in one shloka of Arjuna, it kind of helps us understand the mentality of Arjuna. Arjuna is completely realized, right? Arjuna doesn't have any questions, but he has a question. What is that question? Sanyasasya tyagasya cha pratak pratak tattvam veditum ichchami. Right? I want to understand the variegated, the differentiated truth. No, tattva is not just truth, right? Tattva is the eternal truth. Tattva, atitan agate kale, the one that what holds true in all the time frame, like atitan agate kale, in the past time, in the future time, in the current time, that tattva will not change. So that tattva of sannyasa and tyaga in its differentiated form, in the pratak form, aham veditum ichchami. See, the concept of sannyasa came long ago. We had a chapter called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. The fourth chapter is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa, element of sannyasa comes. What is that? When he speaks about the buddhi, right? Karmanya karma yah pashyed, akarmani cha karma yah, sabuddhiman manushyeshu, sayukta krishna karma krit. No, yasya sarve samarambhaha, jnana sankalpa, kama sankalpa varjitaha, jnanagni karma, check the jnanagni dagda sarva karmanam, tamaho panditam buddhaha. And then he goes on to say, what is the next shloka after that, Sudhaki? Soon after that, त्यक्त्वा कर्मफला आसंगम नित्यतृप्तो निराश्रयः कर्मणि अभिप्रवृत्तः अपि नैव किंचित् करोति सः. So when talking about jnana karma sannyasa, he talks about tyaktva, do the tyaga, tyaktva karma phala asangam. So basically tyaga is always associated with karma phala. Asanga, like the is basically samantat, right? All types of sangha you give up on the karma phala, and nitya triptah nirashraya. Then karmani abhipravrittah, even if you are deeply engrossed in your day-to-day activities, you are as good as doing nothing from your own personal regard, right? You are doing things from a larger perspective. So we heard about tyaga being involved while explaining the karma sannyasa, right? And then in the fifth chapter it comes a little more well refined. The fifth chapter is known as karma sannyasa, right? renunciation of selfish actions. That's what we heard. And those are the instances where we saw sannyasa being invoked. And the best definition of the state of sannyasa, jneyah sa nitya sannyasi, like, know that state to be the nitya sannyasa state. Yona dveshana kamchiti, where you have nothing to, get repulsed with. You don't have any dvesha, you don't have any, enmity with anything. You don't have any repulsion with anything. You are stoic. Yona dveshti, not kamchiti. Nor do you have any craving or hankering or desire upon anything. Yona dveshina kamchati, nirdvandvo hi mahabahu. And in that kind of a state, you don't have any dvandva. Should I fight the war? Nachaitad vidmaha kataranno gariyo yadva jayema yadivano jayayuhu. The state of confusion in Arjuna was so high that he, at one point in time, he's confessing to Krishna, Krishna, I don't know now whether to kill them is better or to get killed by them is better. That's the Dvandva. That's the extreme state of Dvandva. Absolute confusion. Nirdvandvo hi Mahabahu. Again, there we heard Mahabahu. Right? So, when you are completely in the sannyasa city, where Krishna was repeatedly calling Arjuna as Mahabahu and telling him that, no, this is the state of Nitya Sannyasi. Sannyasa is not like a part-time sannyasa. It's a Nitya Sthiti of sannyasa, right? Where you don't have any dvesha, where you don't have any akanksha, where you don't have any dvandva. And in that city, your sukha, your happiness is, sukham bandha pramuchite. With happily, you will be freed up from all possible bindings, karma bindings, okay, of this samsara. And, and that is the best definition of sannyasa that we saw, right, coming from Krishna. And the sthiti, the state of sannyasa, he explains in the same fifth chapter, where he says, Brahmanyadhaya karmani, sangam tyaktva karoti yaha, lipyatena sapatena, padma patram ivambasa. The shloka number 10, which perhaps is the quintessential summary of the entire fifth chapter, right? Where, you do everything Brahmani adhina. Like, you do everything, all your day-to-day activities are done for the sake of that Parabrahma. Whether you are marrying, you do it for the sake of Parabrahma, because the Yajna Chakra should go on. You have kids, you do it for the sake of Bhagavan, because the Atmas will come, right? There are only finite number of Atmas. You do upbringing of the kids, you do it for the sake of Brahma, right? In the Brahmi Sthiti, right? You cook them food, you provide them education, you provide them multiple things all through their upbringing, right? All of the things we do for the sake of Brahma. You take care of your parents, you do it for the sake of Brahma. Your occupation, wherein you serve people in the society, you do it for the sake of Brahma. You work in an organization where you help few people, uplift themselves, get better, get fine tune their upbringing and things like that. You do it for the sake of Brahma. Every vyaparik activity also, we do it for the sake of Brahma. And that's the sannyasa sthiti, not anything for your own personal accord. Of course, he will reward you, right? He will reward you, but you don't have any expectation. You do it for the sake of Brahma. And sangam tyaktva. Whenever we hear in the Bhagavad-Gita Sangha is primarily fourfold Sangha. The attachment is only fourfold. Karma phala peksha Sangha, like, you have an attachment to a result, a fruit of any action. Give up that kind of an attachment, give up that Sangha. Karma phala peksha Sangha, karmani, the kartrutva Sangha, that I am the doer, that, that pride, that vanity, that I do this, and the hetutva sangha, that I am doing this for these sake. Like, Arjuna was fighting the war because something happened to Draupadi, something was done to their Indraprastha. He has those several causal associations for doing the karma, and then I am the one who's doing it. Na yotsye, like, I will not fight. It's as good as saying I will fight. So there is a lot of ahankara that, I am doing it, kartrutva, swabhava in Arjuna, and then I am doing it for the sake of this reason, not because it has to be done, right? So that, that hetutva sangha, and then akarmani sangha, like, that I will not do. So mate sangha has to akarmani. When we talk about, when we look at Bhagavad-Gita in a little close proximity, the only 4 types of association that ever is being called out by Krishna, that you please give up these 4 types of association, give up the sangha. There are only 4 types of sangha that we give up, right? One is the karma phalapeksha, expectation of the result. Kartrutva sangha, that pride and vanity, that, I am the doer. hetutva sangha, that I am doing anything that I do for a certain reason. Like, there is certain causal association for me to do certain activity, give up that causal attachment. And akarmani, that I will not do, inaction. These are the four sangha. Right? Sangam tyaktva karotyaha lipyate na sapapena. If you give up these sangha, and for the sake of Brahma, you do all your day-to-day activities, then lipyate na sapapena, then you will not be tainted. So, this chapter perhaps gave us some amazing definitions of sannyasa, tyaga, everything, all of these. And in the day-to-day practices, we do hear that, we do get to tend to believe that both tyaga and sannyasa, both in which we give up, right? It's not mine. In tyaga also I give, in sannyasa also I give up, right? So in both of the concepts, we basically get to see that, both are given up. But Arjuna is asking, I want to know the differences between tyaga and sannyasa in their individual merit through tattva. Tattva. Now, why would Arjuna ask this question that would come in the mind? The last message we get to hear in the Bhagavad Gita so far, right, in the 17th chapter, Om Tat Saditi Nirdeshaha, where Krishna is outlining that, do everything by chanting Om Tat Sat. All the works that have been done by his Purvajas, by his ancestry, all the people, Manishinaha, all the people before you, all that they have done is Om Tat Sat, and then do their activity. Now, again, these things need to be understood properly. And we saw the meaning behind Omkara is, Otam Yasminidam Sarvam. Like, everything is woven into him, everything is merging into him. He is the one who is pervading everywhere. Who? The Brahma, Param Brahma. Everything is finally, eventually dissolving into the Param Brahma. That's Otam Protam. Otam Yasminidam Sarvam. Ata Choktam, Sa Omiti. Like, he is spoken of as Om, primarily because everything is Otam into him, everything is getting merged into him, right? Brahmarpanam, Brahmahavihi, Brahmagno, Brahmanahutam. My Havana is Brahma, my Agni is Brahma, my Huta is Brahma, my Hasta is Brahma, my Suksravadi, multiple different Karanas that I use, that's also Brahma. Everything is Brahma, right? It comes from Brahma, it gets into Brahma, it is remaining of Brahma. Through Brahma's one more indirect hand, which could be my hand, my mouth. Everything is Brahma. No, that's Otam Protam. That's the state of sannyasa. It is not me, it's all Brahma, Otam. But Tat when we saw Tat iti anabhisandhaya, na abhisandhaya. You don't count these results as yours. These results are for Bhagavan. Mahaganapate Edam Namamavi, when we do the Homa, Yajna, whatever fruits come, it is not mine, it's for the Bhagavan. Whoever we are doing the Upasana, right, in that particular Yajna, it's not mine. So in all the Yajna, Dana, Tapas, whatever activity, and the Yajna, Dana, Tapas are the ultimate Dharma, Swadharma. In fact, when you look at Manusmriti and different scriptures, Yajna is the Paramadharma for the Dwapara Yuga, right? Tapas is the Paramadharma for the Krita Yuga, and Dana is the Paramadharma for the Kali Yuga. And while they are Paramadharma for a particular Yuga, these three are perennial duties. No person can be devoid of these three activities. And in the 17th chapter, we saw Krishna repeatedly drilling that message. Whenever you offer your Yajna, Dana, Tapa, you do it with a Om Tatsat kind of a feeling. Om means that I have the sannyasa, that I enjoin all my activities under the Brahma Adhina, the Brahmashraya. And Tat is basically, I don't have any expectation of that particular result. While the Karma Kandas of the Vedas are always talking about you do this, you get this benefit. You do this yajna, you get this infinite life, blah, blah, blah. It always kind of, links us with some karma phala. Krishna's message to Arjuna is Tat na abhisandhaya. While the books are talking about specific results, you look at that result, give up that result to Bhagavan. Tyaga. That's the Tyaga. So Om was talking about sannyasa, Tat was talking about Tyaga, and Sat is Tattva. Sat is the reality. Sat is the truth. Sat is the timeless reality. Right? So Om Tat Sat together speaks about sannyasa, Tyaga, and Tattva. Now Arjuna is essentially asking, I want to understand the individual elements of all the three. I want to understand the Tattva of sannyasa, of Tyaga, Pritak Veditumichhami. Right? I want to know individually. right? So that could be the reason. Now, again, this is just our vimarsha, right? That could be the reason why Arjuna is asking this question. But nonetheless, I think this is a very important question because this question leads us to perhaps the longest discourse of Bhagavad Gita coming from Bhagavan Sri Krishna. The next 71 shlokas is the longest that we hear, right? In terms of the entire Gita Pravachana coming through. Never before Bhagavad Gita has Bhagavan spoken in one breath for such a long time. And this is the longest chapter, 78 shlokas worth. So this is almost like a upasamhara, kind of complete debrief to whatever we have heard so far in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Saving the best for the last. Basically, this chapter, many people consider this to be the amazing chapter. A lot of people consider second chapter to be amazing because that is one of the longer chapter. But there, that long chapter came in three different dialogues of Bhagavan Sri Krishna. There are three times where Bhagavan had to be prodded by Arjuna to get that many shlokas. But this one shloka takes us to 71 shlokas worth of message coming from Bhagavan, and these 71 are amazing, right? Not my opinion, but a lot of people say. So like so that's one way we can look at it, right? So while there could be enough reasons to prod over as to why Arjuna is asking that question, and in my opinion, it's primarily because Om Tat Sat came. Om is enough. No, when we chant Brahma Sutra, we have a paddhati, right? We have a practice, like Om Athato Brahma Jignasa, Om is enough. Om शास्त्रयोनित्वात् ओम जन्माद्यस्यतः ओम ओम शास्त्रयोनित्वात् ओम ओम तत्समन्वयात् ओम ओम ईक्षते शब्दम. We have a habit of adding one omkara before and after. And similarly, I think when we chant any mantra also, like for example, Om Namo Narayanaya, or like when we talk about the Narayana Ashtakshara mantra, there also we add one omkara before and after. No, Om Namo Narayanaya, Om. Even for Gayatri, Om Bhurbhuva Swaha. We don't just say Bhurbhuva Swaha. We don't straight away jump into the Vyakriti. We say Om. And so Om is enough. For most of the mantras, Om is enough. But Krishna's message is Om Tat Sat Iti. Right? You have to chant Om Tat Sat. Right? So, and then why would we do that? No, Tasmat Om Iti Udaharitya. No, Yajnatana Tapaskriyaha. No, you talk about Om Tat Sat, but you say Om is enough. Now, perhaps that is the reason why Arjuna is specifically asking this question. I want to know the concept behind Om, which is essentially sannyasa. When we understand the meaning of the Omkara, that's the perfect state of sannyasa. Om iti, like Otam asmin idam sarvam iti. Like everything is dissolving into the Brahma. Tyagaha, tat na abhisandhaya. Give up that, whatever that fruit is, tat fruit is, based on the yajna. Give up that. And sat is the tattva. Now Krishna is being asked by Arjuna, Sanyasasya, Tyagasya, Pratat Tattvam Veditam Ichchami. Hey Rishikesha, hey Keshi Nishudana, hey Mahabaho. The names are long enough. The three names, this is the first time, perhaps the only shloka where Krishna is being called with three different names. Rishikesha, Keshi Nishudana, Mahabaho. When we do a proper understanding of these three names, the meaning behind them, and why potentially Arjuna might be calling Krishna with these three names, I think Arjuna, from the state of Vishata, I think there is no more moha. But this question is primarily an academic question, is what we can gather. But the state of Arjuna is completely cleared out, right? He's ready to fight the war, but perhaps he has a question, and good that he asked this question. Let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. Arjuna says, I desire, O mighty arm, to know the principles of sannyasa and the principles of tyaga, O Rishikesha, in their difference and their difference, O Keshi Nishudana. Some people say it's Keshi Nishudana, some people say it's Keshi Nisudana. Sudana, Madhusudana, Sudayati, not Shudayati, right? It's Sudana. Right? It could be Keshi Nisudana, some people say it's Keshi Nishudana, there could be Pathantara, right? Pataveda. We'll go to the second shloka so that
श्रीभगवानुवाच काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासं सन्न्यासं कवयो विदुः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं प्राहुस्त्यागं विचक्षणाः. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, the Supreme Divine Personality said, Kamyanam, desireful, Karmanam, of actions, Nyasam, giving up, Sannyasam, renunciation of actions, Kavayaha, the learned, Viduhu, to understand, Sarva, all, karma phalam, fruits of action, tyagam, renunciation of desire for enjoying the fruits of actions, prahuhu, declare, tyagam, renunciation of desires of enjoying the fruits of actions, vichakshanaha, the wise. श्रीभगवान् उवाच कवयः काम्यानां कर्मणां न्यासं सन्न्यासं विदुः विचक्षणाः सर्वकर्मफलत्यागं त्यागं प्राहुः कृष्ण कृष्ण
Krishna Krishna. This is a very, very simplistic one. I think we can quickly breeze through. Once we understand the context, now what we hear from Krishna is very, very black and white. There is not much of imersha to do, other than perhaps sticking in time from what we have heard from Krishna earlier and things like that. So, Kavayah Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam iti viduhu. Kavayah, Kavayah are the Kavis, right? Kavi Bahuvachana. The learned people say that Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam iti, right? They say that giving up the Kamya Karma, giving up any desireful action, desirous action. Desire is on the results of the action. Like, I want to get the first rank in an examination and hence I will perform this yaga, right? I want promotion in my job and hence I, go all out in terms of, doing sales and things like that. No, that's the kamya karma. That's the desire filled karma. Nyasa. Nyasa can mean multiple things. Nyasa is give up, give up from a material attachment and attach to the godly plane. When we give up the material attachment, we attach. So nyasa can be also like when we do the japa karma, right? When we do the japa karma, we have something called the angan nyasa, karan nyasa. Basically, in all our organs of action, of speech, and things like that, avayava, we attach one Abhimani Devata of the Bhagavad Rupa, right? The Chakshuhu for Surya, Chandra, we have that ability to kind of do the Anusandhana of multiple Bhagavad Rupa for different Avayava, basically making sure that everything that we do is given up from our own personal attachment. That's where Nyasa can mean multiple things or both things, right? Nyasa can mean give up the material plane, attach, take on, attach yourself to the celestial plane where you attach everything for the Bhagavad Chintana, in the Adhyatma plane. So in the Adhyatmika level, Nyasa means attach to the Bhagavan. In the material plane, Nyasa means give up, at the material, hankering. And Samyat Nyasa is Sanyasa. So, right? So that's another place, right, of the word, right? So giving up the Kamya karma is called as sannyasa by the learned people, right? And vichakshanaha, people who vividata chakshanaha, chakshu is the eye. People who can distinguish in a very very wise way, in a multiple, in different multiple way. People with amazing analytical skills, basically who can do slicing and dicing and things like that. Right? That's the vichakshana lakshana, right? So the vichakshana, people with the vichakshana kind of an ability, Sarva karma phalatyagam tyagam iti prahuhu. They say giving up all fruits of action as tyaga. Right? Tyaga was understood to be, it was nicely elaborated in the sixth chapter, right? Shreyo hi jnanam abhyasat. Sorry, in the 12th chapter, in the Bhakti Yoga, we see that. I think sloka number 12, 12.12. Nice number to remember. 12.12. In that shloka, we hear that, श्रेयो हि ज्ञानमभ्यासात् ज्ञानात् ध्यानं विशिष्यते ध्यानात् कर्मफलत्यागः. So tyaga was always karmaphalatyaga, right? And now he is reminding Arjuna again, Vishakshanaha ye prahuhu, that sarva karma phalatyagam iti tyagam. The tyaga basically means it's only giving up all the karma, right? So when we look at these two sentences, kamyanam karmanam nyasam sanyasah, giving up desireful actions is sannyasa, basically being in a state of absolute desirelessness. Now, again, we need to bear in mind, being desireless doesn't mean that we do haphazard work. Mukta Sangaha Samachara was the key word. When the operative word in the Karma Yoga, back in the third chapter, we can't come to the 18th chapter after forgetting what was spoken in the third chapter. The third chapter message is very, very simple. Repeatedly, Krishna drills his message, samachara. Karma yoga is not just doing work in a nishkama way, doing in a nishkama way without any desire, but in a nice way, in as much, you know, saktah karmani avidvamsah yatha kuruvanti bharata kuriyad vidvam tata saktah chikirshur loka sangraham. Just like how one ajnani might do for the sake of a result, for the sake of a selfish result, no, I would fly to the moon and back if it be my baby. Right? That's the kind of a thing, right? A person who's in a desirous state can even fly to the moon and back if this girl agrees to be his lover, right? Be his girl. Like, so that's the kind of a effort that people are willing to put when they want to achieve some desire, right? But Krishna tells, in a similar way, you put the effort even without desiring anything. And that's the way Karma Yoga is teaching. Repeatedly, he says, samachara, 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 sakta karmanya vidhamso, yata kuruvanti bharata, and then na buddhi bedam chanaye, tajnanam karma sanginam, joshaye sarva karmani vidvam yukta samacharam. No, kamyanam karmanam nyasam, if you give up your desireful action, doesn't mean that you do actions in a haphazard way. You do it samachara. That is something that we need to bear in mind. So when we look at these two definitions of sannyasa and tyaga coming together, sannyasa means doing things nicely, but in an absolute desireless way from a personal, feeling. From the personal point of view, you have absolute desirelessness, but you do it nicely. And karmapala tyaga tyaga. Tyaga means that you do things nicely and whatever fruits of the action come, you give it up for the sake of the bigger picture. Like, Mahaganapate idam namama. Not for me. Loka sangraha mevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. You give up all the fruits of action for the sake of bigger good, greater good. They both have merit, but there is a thin line difference between the two. In sannyasa, you don't even expect anything for yourself. In Tyaga, whatever comes, you give it up. All the fruits of action is given up. Let's see what Aurobindo says. The blessed Lord says, sages have known as sannyasa the physical depositing or laying aside of desirable action. You give up all the desirable action. And Tyaga is the name given by the wise, and wise is not wise, Vichakshana, people who are extremely analytical, right? Tyaga is the name given by the wise to an entire abandonment of attached clinging to the fruits of action, fruits of works. Right? That's the Tyaga. We'll go to the next shloka, Sudhati.
त्याज्यं दोषवदित्तेके कर्म प्राहुर्मनीषिणः यज्ञदानतपः कर्म न त्याज्यमिति चापरे. Tyajyam should be given up, doshavat as evil, iti thus, eke some, karma action, prahuhu declare, manishinaha the learned, yajna sacrifice, dana charity, tapaha penance, karma acts, na never, tyajyam should be abandoned, iti thus, cha and apare others. एके मनीषिणः कर्म दोषवत् त्याज्यम् इति प्राहुः अपरे च यज्ञ दान तपः कर्म न त्याज्यम् इति. कृष्ण कृष्ण.
Krishna Krishna. Eke Manishinaha. Some people. Karma doshavat tyajyam iti prahuhu. Doshavat karma tyajyam iti prahuhu. Some people say that, whatever is faulty karma, faulty action, that need to be given up. Apare manishinaha. Other people, cha, also say, yajna dana tapah karma na tyajyam iti. You should never give up yajna dana tapas. Yajna dana tapas, as I spoke earlier. When we look at other scriptures, we get a better understanding. But yajna dana tapas is repeatedly called by Krishna for a particular reason. This is our swadharma, right? Nobody.
Bhartaji, you are not audible. We lost you, Bhartaji. You are not audible.
Jai Shri Krishna. Was I audible?
Yeah, now you are audible.
Okay, I think I lost my Wi-Fi connection. The power went off. This is some crazy thing that keeps happening. Okay, so eke manishinah doshavat karma tyajyam iti prahuhu. Some people say the faulty karma, faulty actions need to be abandoned. Tyajyam. They say that iti prahuhu. Apare manishinah, other people, sure, no, yajnadana tapah karma na tyajyam iti prahuhu. They say that no, yajnadana tapah karma, these three kind of karma should never be given up. Right? Now, doshavat, this is basically bandhaka. Basically something that can be binding, right? Basically, yajnatnat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. That's the doshavat karma, right? Which is basically our akarma, our kamatma karma, our nishiddha karma. All of these things need to be given up. Some people say, if you're looking at tyaga of action, it's only tyaga of the forbidden action, tyaga of the kamartha, sense gratifying action. Those are the things that need to be given up. And apare and other manishana, other people think that the yajna dana tapah karma, which are our core duty. Like when we look at Gita, repeatedly Krishna keeps talking about yajne tapasi dane cha, yatkaroshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi dadasi. Repeatedly we keep hearing the yajna dana tapas being called out, and these are the core Swadharma, right? I mean, we spoke about this earlier. Yajna is the core, the Paramadharma of the Dwapara, Dana is the Paramadharma of the Kali Yuga, Tapas is the Paramadharma of the Krita Yuga. Right? We have been speaking about it. So your Swadharma can never be abandoned. No person can be in a rightful living in this life. Nobody can be devoid of yajna, which is basically selfless action, dana, that is doing charity, and tapas, which is enduring difficulty, austerity, right? Nobody can be devoid of these three things. Even if we are living the life of a very modest, something like in our current society, we look down upon some roles like being a housewife. So, being a housewife is parama yajna. Yajna. I mean, I have seen my mother. She cooks the food. She is the first person to get up. She cooks the food, and she is the last person to have it. Not only after feeding the family members, even after feeding the maid that comes to the house. No, she is the last person to have the food. That's absolute idam namama yajna. Yajna shishta chinaha santaha, right? That's the kind of yajna. Dana, they are the first ones to give up, give away charity. The little savings they have, I mean, we have seen cases, right, when people were collecting money for Rama Bhoomi. Some of the women, they just wiped out their entire life savings and gave whatever was there. Dana, and tapaha, they endure the most difficult, hardships. Like when a newborn baby is born, it's the mothers who are perhaps, they just don't care about what time they sleep, what time they get up, how they look. So complete tapas. The endurance is matchless. So even at seemingly modest kind of a roles that different people play, I mean, it shouldn't be looked down upon, but unfortunately, in the current society, the role of a mother, the role of a woman, the housewife is massively looked down upon, right? People think that when you go out to work in a professional field and start working money, the currency, the hard currency is the only fruitful life. Now, people don't really, give the value, attach necessary value to the role of other people that contribute to the greatness of the society. But nobody, whether we play the role of a housewife or a husband or an employee or a neighbor in a society or a responsible citizen, in a country, in whatever role that we play, nobody can be devoid of these three core actions: yajna, dana, tapas. Selfless actions, charity, and endurance. These are the three things that can never be given up. That's what this shloka, in this shloka, Krishna is telling. That some people say that the dosha karma, the bandhaka karma, the actions that are karma bandhana, binding in nature, that should be given up. And other people think that yajna dana tapah karma should never be given up. Right? Let us see what Aurobindo says. All action should be relinquished as an evil. No, 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 no. Okay. Doshavat karma tyajyam. Okay. All action should be relinquished as an evil, declare some learned people. Acts of sacrifice, giving, and ascesis ought not to be renounced, say the others. I think there is some, I think if you look at some other translation, we will get to hear that, it's only the doshavat karma that need to be given up. Only the faulty karma that need to be given up. And Dosha is basically bandhaka. I think some interpretation here in the website, but nonetheless we can take it properly. We'll quickly see the next shloka, Sudhaji. Shloka number 4.
निश्चयं शृणु मे तत्र त्यागे भरतसत्तमा त्यागो हि पुरुषव्याघ्र त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः निश्चयं conclusion शृणु hear मे my tatra there tyage about renunciation of desires of enjoying the fruits of action bharata sattama best of the bharatas tyagah renunciation of desires for enjoying the fruits of actions he indeed purusha vyagra tiger amongst men trividha of three kinds samprakirtita declared हे पुरुष व्याघ्र हे भरत सत्तमा तत्र त्यागे मे निश्चयं शृणु हि त्यागः त्रिविधः सम्प्रकीर्तितः कृष्ण कृष्ण
Krishna Krishna. This is very simple. Primarily Purusha Vyagra. Purusha Vyagra is not just tiger among men, the fiercest of the men. Right? Purusha Vyagra, when we say Purusha Rishabha, we don't say, oh, bull among men. It's a Shrestha among the men. Rishabha is one of the early, sun signs, the Taurus, Taurus the bull, right? You don't say bull among men. You are among the foremost of the men. That's the way we have to look at it. The idiomatic meaning, we shouldn't look at it literally. Purusha Vyagra basically means the fiercest, the wild cat, right? Wild cat is extremely fierce and quick and, easy to pounce upon the prey, on the enemy. So that's the Purusha Vyagra. Paurusham, Paurusham, Shabda ke Paurusham Vishu. Like, the Bhagavad Tattva is the Paurusha. And Vyagra has that ultimate fierce Paurusha in it, right? So Purusha Vyagra basically means that you have amazing Purushatva in you. You have an amazing Bhagavad Tattva in you. And hey, Bharata Sattama. Bharata Sattama is best among the Bharata. He is the Bharatiya, right? So he's referring to Arjuna, hey, Purusha Vyagra, he is fiercest among the people, and Bharata Sattama, who foremost among the, Bharata Vamshi. And so Tatra Tyage means Nishtayam Shunu. In that concept of Tyaga, in regards to Tyaga, listen to me, in certainty, in absolute certain terms. He Tyagaha Trividaha Samprakirtitaha. Tyaga is known to be of threefold, right? Basically, I think Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. That's one thing that we hear. And also, we spoke about the fourfold Sangam Tyaktva, right? The Sangha is always fourfold. Kartrutva Sangha, Hetutva Sangha, Karma Phalapeksha Sangha, and Akarmani Sangha. Now, Akarma cannot be done. That was already covered in the previous shloka. So basically, Tyaga, the threefold Tyaga can also mean that, you give up the Kartrutva Tyaga, Hetutva Tyaga, and the Karma Phalapeksha Tyaga. Those could be. But I think we will hear more of the Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, right? These are the three types of Tyaga that we will hear. Let's quickly see what Aurobindo interpretation says. Here my conclusions, conclusive, declaration as to in regards to as to renunciation, which is tyaga. Oh, best of the Bharatas, since renunciation of work, okay, oh tiger of men, oh Purusha Vyagra, has been explained as threefold. There are threefold renunciation. Right? That's what Bhagavan says.
never tyajyam should be abandoned karma eva must certainly be performed tat that yajnaha sacrifice danam charity tapaha penance cha and eva indeed pavanani purifying manishinam for the wise यज्ञ दान तपः कर्म न त्याज्यं तत् कार्यम् एव यज्ञ दानं तपः एव च मनीषिणां पावनानि कृष्ण कृष्ण
This is also very simplistic. What Krishna is telling is yajna dana tapah karma nat tyajyam. So basically, in every section, when we see any of our scriptures, we will see one pratigna. Right? The previous shloka was a pratigna. No, should nishchayam shunume. That kind of a pratigna, the declaration. Now he is telling yajna dana tapah karma nat tyajyam. As we spoke earlier, basically your swadharma cannot be given up. You shall never renounce your swadharma. Tat karyameva. You have to continue to do that. right? You have to keep on doing your karma, niyata karma, niyatam kuru karmatvam karmatyayosha karmanah. One of the earliest commandments that we saw in the Bhagavad-Gita, back in the third chapter in the Karma Yoga, was you have to keep doing your niyata karma, which is your swadharma. Yajna dana tapa are our swadharma, are our ordained actions. We have to do these things. No, it might look difficult at the face of it, that we have to do selfless action, we have to give charity, we have to endure difficulties. They might look like difficulties for us to bear, but no, that is the crying is for the lesser mortals, right? We have to take them on our chin and keep on doing them. No, we can't run away from, we can't abdicate from responsibilities, right? So tat karyam eva. You have to do that only. And yajnah danam tapah eva cha manishina pavanani. These are the actions that will purify the people. And this is true, right? It's only the difficult moments that will help us in learning. And it's only through learning that we get purified, we get better and better and better. No, and we spoke about that in length when we spoke about the sattva guna, sattva sanjayate jnanam, right? Sattva leads to the sattvika actions, lead to knowledge, because sattvika actions are by nature difficult actions. They are not easy, right? When we look at the story of Rama, Rama was sattva, completely personified. No, he kept on facing difficulties, but in the sight of every seeming difficulty, it is not difficulty for him, right? It's only looking difficult for lesser mortals like us. Whatever Rama endured, or for that sake, even the Pandavas, right? In Mahabharata, all that the Pandavas endured, they didn't endure one, two, repeatedly, right? Till the last minute, they were just enduring difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. And in every turn of those difficulties, it's quite evident when we study Mahabharata that they came out more and more stronger. From Lakshagraha, when they ran away, they became more stronger. The Bakasura Vadha, they won few boons and things like that. The Vanavasa, the Ajnatavasa. After every round of difficulty, they were just coming out more and more stronger, right? And that's our learning. So this is logical. Yajna Dana Tapaha, while at the face of it, they all look difficult, they are the ones that purify us. How purify? Because we overcome vasana. There are some laggard behavior in all of us because we have acquired some karma, prarabdha karma, right, that have materialized in my current janma that will show up as vasana. The only way to overcome our shortcomings is by doing difficult things and then purifying us. Purifying pavanani, purification is basically I'm getting rid of my difficult vasana. Right? That's what he was telling. Kayena manasa buddhya kevalai rindriyerapi yoginah karma kuruvanti. You don't get attached to the difficulty part or the good or the bad or the ugly part of any action. You just let your indriya, manas, and the hands and the legs, play upon the action. You just do it in a detached way. Yoginah karma kuruvanti sangam tektva atma shuddhayi. Atma Shuddhi is what we undergo when we take up these detached actions, though they seem extremely difficult. When we do them repeatedly, we undergo that Atma Shuddhi. Atma Shuddhi is overcoming our tendencies, those vasanas. Right? If we have some different crazy tendencies, the only way to overcome those tendencies, and tendencies are the shortcomings we have in our life. That will kind of create an imprint that we are this, we are that. We have this phobia, we have that intolerance, blah blah blah. Right? The only way to overcome the vasana is by enduring them in a difficult way, in a detached manner, by just letting our physical organs play upon them, and those are pavanani. Those are the purifiers of our body. So it's all very very logical when we apply the concept of tattva behind each and every word. They are all very very logical. The way Krishna is explaining. What Aurobindo's interpretation is also the same. The acts of sacrifice, giving, ascesis, which is tapas, ought not to be renounced at all, but should be performed, for they purify the wise. Right? In fact, people become wise upon that purification. Right? So it's all interlinked. These acts are the ones that will purify the wise. Pavanani, Manishinam Pavanani Eva. We'll look at the next shloka, Sudhaki.
एतान्यपि तु कर्माणि सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलानि च कर्तव्यानीति मे पार्थ निश्चितं मतमुत्तमम्. Etani, these, apitu, must certainly be, karmani, activities, sangam, attachment, tektva, giving up, phalani, rewards, cha, and kartavyani, should be done as duty, iti, such, may, My, Partha, Arjuna, the son of Pritha, Nishchitam, definite, Uttamam, Matam, Matam Uttamam, opinion, supreme opinion. हे पार्थ, एतानि कर्माणि अपि तु सङ्गं फलानि च त्यक्त्वा कर्तव्यानि इति मे निश्चितम् उत्तमं मतम्. Krishna Krishna.
I think this is just a repeat, right? Etani karmani, he partha, etani karmani api. Even these acts, while they look like pavanani, they are purifying. They become purifying only when we have that sangha given up. Sangha is the palapeksha sangha, kartrutva sangha, hetutva sangha. Right? That's basically the sangha throughout Bhagavad-Gita. Now he's telling, hey Partha, Partha is a very endearing kind of a call out, right? Exclamation. Oh Partha, oh dear Arjuna. Because Partha, Pritha's son is Partha. Pritha is Kunti. And Kunti is the connection between Arjuna and Krishna, right? The maternal cousin. And so that Kunti's brother's son is Krishna, right? So Krishna and Arjuna are linked, related through Kunti. So whenever he calls him Partha, it's a very endearing, oh my dear cousin, right? So, hey Partha, etani karmani api na tu sangam phalani cha tyaktva kartavyani. These actions of yajna, dana, tapas also should be performed by giving up, by renouncing all your palapeksha and all your sangha attachment. The palapeksha and other attachments like kartrutva sangha, hetutva sangha, akarma sangha. Right? Give up. Do it nicely. Right? Tektva kartavyani. Iti me nishchitam uttama matam. This is my ultimate, decisive opinion. That's what Krishna is telling. If you want Aurobindo says. Even these actions, yajna, dana, tapas, certainly ought to be done, O Partha, leaving aside attachment and fruit. This is my decisive opinion. I think that's missing. Nishchitam uttamam matam. That's missing. Look at the next look. I mean, these are all quite simplistic ones.
नियतस्य तु सन्न्यासः कर्मणो नोपपद्यते मोहातस्य परित्यागस्तामसः परिकीर्तितः. नियतस्य of prescribed duties to, but sannyasah renunciation, karmanah actions, na never, upapadyate to be performed, mohat deluded, tasya of that, parityagah renunciation, tamasah in the mode of ignorance, parikirtitah has been declared. नियतस्य कर्मणः संन्यासः तु न उपपद्यते मोहात् तस्य परित्यागः तामसः परिकीर्तितः. कृष्ण कृष्ण.
Upapadyate. It is not to be followed. What not to be followed? The niyatasya karmanah sannyasah. The renunciation, the giving up of niyata karma. Niyata karma is the ordained karma, right? Vihita karma, niyata karma. It's the one that we are, it's our swadharma. It is what we are supposed to do. No, nitya naimittika karma. No, varnashrama uchita karma. Na upapadyate. Like, giving up that, it is not yukta, it is not ideal, right? And this is basically repeat, right? Niyatam kuru karmatvam. That's one of the first things that we heard in Karma Yoga. Niyatam kuru karmatvam. Karmajyayo hya karmanah. When we think of giving up our ordained action, we will be wasting time. Akarma. Right? That's basically akarma. Inaction is basically whenever we decide we don't do anything, there are only four things we will do, right? We will seek some entertainment, we will be slothing on the couch, we might be sleeping, or we might be eating. These are the four things, all absolute wasteful activities, right? So don't do that, right? Do the niyata karma. Never give up the niyata karma. In fact, giving up niyata karma is not ideal. It is not proper. That's what Krishna is telling. And moha tasya parityagaha. So moha is mithya jnana, right? Out of ignorance, out of wrong assessment, tasya parityagaha. If you give up that action, those actions, niyata karma is basically whatever is ordained for me in the shape of yajna dana tapas. At the end of the day, my swadharma is yajna dana tapas. Every swadharma has to involve yajna dana tapas. That's the only equation that comes. And out of delusion, out of ignorance, if you give up parityagaha, will be called as tamasaha. It is called as tamasic, right? That tyaga is called as tamasic tyaga. So now Trividaha Tyagaha, right? There is a Tamasika Tyaga. I think he just explained Tamasika Tyaga. Right? I think that's what comes in the Aurobindo interpretation as well. Verily, O Arjuna, O Partha, renunciation of tightly regulated action, which is Niyata Karma, which is our ordained karma, which is our Swadharma. Tightly regulated action is not proper. Ayuktaha, na upapadyate. To renounce them from ignorance, out of ignorance, is tamasic renunciation. We'll look at the next one.
दुःखमित्येव यत्कर्म कायक्लेशभयात् त्यजेत् स कृत्वा राजसं त्यागं नैव त्यागफलं लभेत्. Dukkham, troublesome, iti, as, eva, indeed, yat, which, karma, duties, kaya, bodily, klesha, discomfort, bhayat, out of fear, tyajet, giving up, saha, they, kritva, having done, rajasam, in the mode of passion, tyagam, renunciation of desires for enjoying the fruits of actions, na, never, eva, certainly, tya, tyaga, renunciation of desires for enjoying the fruits of action, phalam, results, labhet, attain. Dukkham eva iti yad karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajet saha rajasam tyagam krutva tyagaphalam na labhet eva. Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna. I think this is also straightforward. We spoke about that, right? Yajna Dana Tapas, which is our Swadharma. It's not easy to stay rooted in Swadharma. And we can see that through multiple instances of Itihasa Puranas. And Rama, story of Rama, story of Pandava, they are ultimate examples. They give us that perfect textbook example, right, in front of us. So that, we can learn from them, how to take on, how to face life, in the middle of all that seeming adversity. They're not even adversities. But if you think these are sorrowful, dukkhamiti, yat karma, if you think that, this karma is sorrowful to you, momentarily material sorrow, dukkha is dushtu kha, sukha. It's basically the conundrum, sukha dukkha, the conundrum of sukha dukkha, right? The perennial, extremities of, dukkasya anantaram sukham, sukhasya anantaram dukkham. That happens only in the material plane, right? When I buy a nice pair of shoes, right? When I buy a nice pair of shoes, I would have momentarily gained sukha because now I'm not walking barefoot anymore. Now I have some comfort down my heel, right? But over a course of time, that sukha, that happiness quotient will diminish, right? And then it will lead to dukkha again. Then I will start looking at, okay, do I have the latest technology? Like, maybe Adidas will have some new technology. But then the new hankering will come, new desire will come, and new dukkha will come. You overcome that dukkha by buying that higher graded shoe. Then another higher thing will come. Like, this men who shave, right? This brand called the Gillette. So Gillette, when I initially started using Gillette, the two blade Gillette was big. Like, we were using single blade razors, and suddenly two blades. The two became three, three became four, now four became five, five has the sixth one with the vibrator that gives you the massage and things like that. Now, there's a higher carrot being shown to you, then the current carrot looks like a dukkha, looks very, very sorrowful. So dukkha is very, very rajasic, very, very much in the material plane. So if you think that karma will, this action is sorrowful to you, or this karma will lead to kaya klesha bhaya. Kaya klesha bhaya is basically body. Kaya is body. Klesha is some harm. And bhaya is the fear. Now, dukkha and bhaya are more in the mind, and kaya klesha is more in the exterior. That's the internal, feeling and the external fear, right? Of having some damage to my body. Basically, all our yajna, dana, tapas will have endurance, will have difficulty. If we give up these actions because we think they are dukkakara for me, because they are difficult for me, and they will hurt my body. Oh, I will become weak if I take up this exercise. I have to help my neighbor in the studies. I know the subject very well, and I know this neighbor of mine needs the help. If I think that by helping that person, I will have sleepless nights, for a couple of days, then I will start developing some dark circle around my eyes, and out of that fear, I give up this activity. If I'm capable of helping somebody to learn, I should be able to do that, right? That's the Swadharma. Swadharma is basically from whatever capability that we possess, where we can offer some value to the society. That's the Swadharma, right? Everything that we do, basically, we serve the society. Every ask, every task that we undertake, we are basically serving the society. But when we get to the feeling that, by undertaking this activity, I will have some bodily harm, I will have some sorrow, with loss of sleep, I will not be able to watch the World Cup that is starting on the 5th of October. All of when I have the dukkha in my mind, and then kaya klesha bhaya about my body. And considering these things, I give up the action. Basically, that's Rajasik. Saha Rajasam Tyagam Krutva Karma Phala no Tyaga Phalam na labhe eva. That's the Rajasika Tyaga, and having carried out such a Rajasika Tyaga of action, and then see when we decide to give up some action, no justifications will just follow, right? And they will all sound all right, right? Like how Arjuna was sounding. Oh, if I fight this war, then my all my enjoyment of life, after this will be tainted in blood. We will have all possible woke theories that will come and follow us, help us, attack those justifications. And that is the Rajasika Tyaga. And having performed such a Rajasika Tyaga, no Tyaga Phala. See, they all say Tyaga will lead to some great, great benefits. But what Krishna is saying is, no such results, no such benefits of Tyaga will accrue to you if you give up something out of this Dukkakara feeling, out of this fearful aspect about your own bodily well-being. No, if you give up anything in a Rajasic way, this Rajasika Tyaga will not accrue any benefits for you. That's what Krishna is telling. Right? So Aurobindo interpretation says, he who gives up works because he thinks, I think we need to add that, he thinks that they bring sorrow or are trouble to the flesh, to the body, and thus doing such Rajasic renunciation, he obtains no fruits of renunciation. We go to the next slogan.
कार्यमित्येव यत्कर्म नियतं क्रियतेऽर्जुन सङ्गं त्यक्त्वा फलं चैव सत्यागः सात्विको मतः. Karyam as a duty, iti as, eva indeed, yat which, karma niyatam obligatory actions, kriyate are performed, Arjuna, sangam attachment, tektva relinquishing, phalam reward, cha and eva certainly, saha such, tyagaha renunciation of desires for enjoying the fruits of actions, satvikaha in the mode of goodness, mataha considered. He Arjuna, karyam iti eva yat niyatam karma sangam phalam cha tyaktva kriyate satyagaha eva satvikaha mataha. Krishna Krishna.
Hey Arjuna, oh Arjuna, karyam iti eva yat niyatam karma kriyate. Somebody who takes up the work because it has to be taken up, it has to be undertaken. And this is very consistent with what we heard in the previous chapter, right? When we talk about the Satvika Yajna, Yastavyameveti Samadhaya Manaha. It has to be performed, and hence I perform this Yajna. That's the Satvika Yajna. Datavyamiti Yaddanam. It has to be donated, and hence it is being donated. When we perform actions, because we are only incidental doers of that action, that action needs to be done. So, like if 10 people need Bhagavad-Gita to be heard in such a platform, it has to be done. Now I will do because it has to be done without any other. There is no other reason because it has to be done. Right? There is no better reason than it has to be done. So somebody who takes up niyata karma is again ordained karma, our swadharma. Anybody who takes up the swadharma because it has to be undertaken, and it has to be undertaken giving up all the phala sangha, without any attachment to what will I get out of it, what lottery will I win after doing this activity, what bonus will I get upon completion of this task. I don't have any such attachment. Sangam tyaktva, sangam phalam cha tyaktva. yat karyam kriyate. Satyagaha satvikaha mataha. That kind of a renunciation of the fruit of action. Where we do our work nicely only because they need to be done. And these works are our niyata karma, our ordained karma, our varnashrama uchita karma, right? We do that. That kind of a renunciation, which is renunciation to the fruits of action, right? Renunciation of the sangha, kartrutva sangha, hetutva sangha. So that kind of a tyaga is sattvika. It is known as sattvika, right? So tamasika, we heard, where we give up the core duties out of ignorance, is tamasika tyaga. Renouncing core, ordained duties, out of ignorance, out of delusion. That's a tamasika tyaga. Giving up ordained duty because we think they are difficult. They bring in bodily harm. Because they bring in sorrow to me. Material sorrow, material trouble. Material is that they are troubling to me. That's rajasika tyaga, and you don't get any benefits out of it. Right? And sattvika tyaga is where we give up only the we renounce only the attachment to the fruits of action. That whatever is the end result of this action, and end result is always a good result, right? We don't talk about the rotten fruits. We only talk about the good fruits, right? When we give up the attachment, because whenever there are rotten fruits, our prayatna has to continue. Like I have to water more, I have to sow more seeds. I still need to get the good fruits. And once we get the good fruits, then we offer it. It's not mine, right? It's not the rotten fruit tyaga. Right? Sangam tyakva phalam chaiva, right? So when we give up that sangha upon the action, and we renounce the fruits of the action, that tyaga is called as sattvika tyaga. So Aurobindo interpretation says the same. He who performs a rightly regulated action, which is the swadharma, because it has to be done. There is no better reason than it has to be done, right? Without any attachment either to the action or to the fruit of the action, without either having any causal association to that action, any other causal association to the action, that I do this because, if I do this, I get this girl. No, nothing like that, right? So no causal attachment, no doership attachment, but an I do. There is nothing like, I do. Like, I'm being a role play, one nimitta, one incidental role play in this entire activity. That renunciation is regarded as sattvic. Look at the next slogan.
न द्वेष्य कुशलं कर्म कुशलेनानुषज्यते त्यागी सत्त्वसमाविष्टो मेधावी छिन्न संशयः. न, neither, dveshti, hate, akushal, disagreeable, karma, work, kushale, to an agreeable, na, not, anushajyate, seek, tyagi, one who renounces, desires for enjoying the fruits of action, sattva, in the mode of goodness, samavishtaha, endowed with, medhavi, chinna samshayah, those who have no doubts. सत्त्वसमाविष्टः छिन्नसंशयः मेधावी त्यागी अकुशलं कर्म न द्वेष्टि कुशले न अनुषज्यते. Krishna Krishna.
Sattva samadhishtaha, the one who is avishta, properly seated, properly embodied, properly endowed with the sattva, with the sattvika kind of a mentality, sattvika kind of a mind, right? Mindset. Sattva samadhishtaha, chinna samshayah, who has no doubt, no dvandva. That's exactly what sannyasa was. Nirdvandvo hi mahabaho, sukam bandha pramuchite. And chinna samshaya, there is absolutely no doubt. And when you don't have any doubt, you don't know whether to this or whether to do that. You don't have any confusion, right? It's the doubt that leads us to dual path. And duality is basically confusion. So without any doubt, having uh, killed, quelled all possible doubts, that medhavi, with proper intellect, no, medhavi tyagi, that renouncer is a tyagi. Akushalam karma na dveshti. He doesn't, have any repulsion, aversion to akushala karma. Akushala is basically something that is not pleasant at the face of it today. No, tatkalika sukadam na. There is no immediate, touchy-feely sukha. Like there is no immediate touchy-feely benefit out of it. No, even then I don't really, get repulsion. I don't have any aversion to such actions. And kushala karma na anushajyate, nor will I have any special attachment to things that will only give me immediate sense gratification, which will give me any immediate pleasure, right? So that's the kind of a state of a sattvika tyagi. Now he's basically explaining how the sattvika tyagi looks like. Sattvika tyaga was explained, but sattva samavishtaha tyagi, who has no doubts, who has no confusion, who has no duality, nadveshti akushalam karma, na anushajyate kushale karma. In the in the in the pleasing action, he doesn't have any special attachment. In not so pleasing action, he doesn't have any special aversion. Right? That's basically what this shloka says. The Aurobindo interpretation says the wise man, Medhavi, with doubts cast away, Chinna Samchaya, who renounces in the light of full sattvika mind, has no aversion to unpleasant action nor any attachment to pleasant action. And pleasant and unpleasant are more from the material plane on an immediate basis, right? Tatkalika. We'll go to the 11th shloka.
न हि देहभृता शक्यं त्यक्तुं कर्माण्यशेषतः यस्तु कर्मफलत्यागी सत्यागीत्यभिधीयते न not he indeed dehadhrita for the embodied being shakyam possible tektum to give up karmani activities asheshatah entirely yaha who to but karma phala fruit of action tyagi one who renounces all desires for enjoying the fruits of action saha they tyagi one who renounces all desires for enjoying the fruits of action iti as abhidhiyate are said हि देहभृता अशेषतः कर्माणि त्यक्तुं न शक्यं यः कर्मफलत्यागी स त्यागी इति अभिधीयते कृष्ण कृष्ण
I think this is a very simple one. Nahi deha brita, as long as you are in the body, no, he deha brita, the embodied person, asheshatah karmani tyaktum na shakyam. No, completely to give up action is not possible. It's not possible to completely give up action for anybody who's still embodied, who's still in the body. And I think by now, I think we are clear, right? The body and the bodied are two different people. The body is separate than the embodied soul, Atma. They are two different things. So as long as you are embodied in the body, there is no way you can give up all action, is basically what he's telling. Very similar to Nahi Kaschit Shanamapi Jatu Tishtatya Karma Kutu, back in the Karma Yoga. Karyate Hyavashah Karma, everybody has to do something or the other. Right? He Avashah Sarvaha Prakriti Jair Gunehi. By our Prakriti born gunas are so strong that they will compel us to do something or the other all the time. There is no way anybody can stay quiet without any action. Sitting quiet is also an action. We are breathing, we are staring at something, we are leching on something, we are desiring on something. You know, you can't open the eye and not see, right? When we open the eye, we obviously see something. When the ears are open, we hear something. They have a natural tendency to do something. They can't keep quiet. That's the nature of this creation, right? So dehabhuta asheshatah karmani tyaktum na shakyam. There is no way possible for a embodied person to give up action completely. Therefore, yaha karma phalatyagi, the one who gives up the action, not the action but the karma phala, like the results of the action, the out of good deeds, the good results of the good deeds, right? We have to bear in mind, not haphazardly done. Samachara, that's the key word. Operative word of karma yoga is samachara. Do it nicely, right? Yaha karma phalatyagi, the one who gives up the fruits of the action after having done work properly and after the work has yielded some nice result. Because when the project fails, I can't offer it to Sri Krishna Arpanamastu. Project failure means that I continue to do the course correction as long as it happens. Yahatu karma phalatyagi, the one who gives up the fruits of the action. Sahatu tyagi iti abhidiyati. He is said to be the true renouncer. I think that's what even uh, Aurobindo says. Nor indeed can embodied beings renounce all work. Verily, he who gives up the fruit of the action, he is said to be the renouncer. I think by this time we come very close to getting explanation to what was spoken in Karma Yoga, right? Nakarmana manarambhat naishkarmyam purushoshtate. There is no way you can achieve nishkama karma swabhava. There's no sannyasatva kind of a swabhava by not beginning any work. You have to start work. So karma has to be there. And nata sanyasanadeva siddhim samati gacchati. Nor by just giving up can you achieve any siddhi. I think this chapter perhaps helps us come to some realization of what exactly Krishna spoke in the third chapter. Right? We'll quickly see the next verse.
अनिष्टमिष्टं मिश्रं च त्रिविधं कर्मणः फलं भवत्यत्यागिनां प्रेत्य न तु सन्न्यासिनां क्वचित्. Anishtam, unpleasant, ishtam, pleasant, mishram, mixed, cha, and trividham, threefold, karmana phalam, fruits of action, bhavati, accrue, atyagina, to those who are attached to personal reward, pretya, after death, na, not, to, but, sannyasinam, for the renouncers of action, kvachit, ever. अत्यागिनां कर्मणः इष्टम् अनिष्टं मिश्रं च त्रिविधं फलं प्रेत्य भवति सन्यासिनां तु क्वचित् न. कृष्ण कृष्ण.
I think here we get to see some very subtle difference between tyaga and sannyasa, right? What he says is atyaginam karmanaha ishtam anishtam mishram cha trividham phalam pretya bhavati. If you do not give up your results of the action, okay, there are three types of results that can potentially come to you if you're an atyagi, a non-renouncer. And if you're a non-renouncer of your fruits of action in this world, you will have three types of results, which is ishta, likable, anishta, not likable, mishra, mixed, pleasant, unpleasant, and mixed. These are the three types of results that are possible for people who are unable to give up the results of the action. Basically, who are clinging on to their ego, the vanity, the pride. I did this is my result, this is my, Ishvaroham aham bhogi, siddhoham balavan sukhi, adhyo bhijanavan asmi, all yakshe dasyami modishye, all the asuri prabhava we heard in the 16th chapter, that, where we cling too strongly to our doership, our action, and the results of the action. If you can't give up, if you can't renounce the results, then we will end up with three types of results. Ishtam, pleasant, anishtam, unpleasant, mishram, the mixed of the two. Right? And bhavati pretyacha, in this world and hereafter also. Like param, here and also after giving up our body also, we will have three types of results that we will carry. But natu sannyasinam kvachit. But for a sannyasi, no such things will exist. Basically, indirectly, he is explaining tattva, the essential truth, the eternal truth. What happens if you are a tyagi? What happens if you are a tyagi? What happens when you are a tyagi and when you are a sannyasi? And how in the sannyasa city there is no karma bandhana, because when you don't give up the fruits of the action, there is something called attachment. Attachment is what will lead us to the pleasant, unpleasant and mixed kind of a feeling. But when you have given up the fruits of the action, there is nothing called pleasantries, unpleasantries, and the mixed feelings. Right? There is no feelings and there is no karma bandhana. There is no dead weight that we carry. There is no inertia behind us. There is no clinging onto the spirit. We become completely carpe diem. While it sounds very, very romantic, not many people know how to practice it, right? Absolutely free spirited, right? We will perhaps achieve that kind of a city, right? So what Aurobindo says is perhaps very similar. There are three kinds of results, pleasant, unpleasant, and mixed in this and the other world, okay, or in this or the other life, in this or the other world, or in this or the other life, for slaves of their desire and ego, people who are atyagi, people who are unable to renounce, who are essentially, this is the opinionation coming, right? Aurobindo is calling such slaves, such people who are unable to renounce the fruits of the action as slaves of desire and ego. And these things do not cling on to the free spirit. A sannyasi, one who has completely renounced, no, idam na mama, that kind of a feeling. For such a person, these things do not cling on. Basically, there is no karma bandha. Basically, Technically, Krishna is explaining to Arjuna how karma bandha will happen and how you can be rid of completely free from karma bandha. Right? You see the next shloka.
पञ्चैतानि महाबाहो कारणानि निबोध मे साङ्ख्ये कृतान्ते प्रोक्तानि सिद्धये सर्वकर्मणाम् पञ्च 5 एतानि these महाबाहो mighty armed one कारणानि causes nibodha listen me from me sankhya of sankhya kritante stop reactions of karmas proktani explains siddhaye for the accomplishment sarva all karmanam of karma हे महाबाहो सर्वकर्माणां सिद्धये कृत अन्ते सांख्ये प्रोक्तानि एतानि पञ्चकारणानि मे निबोध कृष्ण
Many both buddhyasva. Learn, oh Mahabahu. Again, reminding. So this is all Mahabahu. Whenever we hear Mahabahu, it's just reminding Arjuna of his responsibility. Responsibility is basically get up and fight. That's the whole crux of the message, right? Get up and fight. So the great responsibility, right? So Mahabahu, while it is mighty armed one, arms are needed to shoulder the responsibility, right? So that's where idiomatically that comes, right? And that idiom is perhaps consistent, right, across civilization. So Mahabahu, hey Mahabahu, Sarva Karmanam Siddhaye Kritante Sankhye Proktani Etani Panchakaranani Me Nibodha. There are five causes, Karana, five things that are the independent factors. So we have dependent variable and independent variable, right? Y is a function of x1, x2, x3, x4, x5. If Y here is karma, action, no, some action that, for example, we had this Bhagavad-Gita class session. This is the action, right? It has five independent contributors, causes that will lead to the successful completion of any action. Sarva karmanam siddhaye, for the success of every action, krita ante, at the end of it all, sankhye proktani etani panchakaranani. In the Sankhya Shastra, I think this Sankhya Shastra is the Seshwara Sankhya Shastra or the Parama Sankhya Shastra or the Kapila Sankhya Shastra. No, Kapila Matadivyena Chakshusha Swambirokaya. Kapila Mahamuni, no, Kapila, we have a place in Gujarat, Patan, Patan kind of a area. We have a place called Siddhpur, Siddhi, Siddhanam Kapilognihi. Like for Siddhi, the first contributor of proper analytical knowledge, is Kapila Mahamushi. And him having a conversation, the discourse to his mother, Devavati. I think there is a place called Siddhpur, right? In Gujarat, it's still there. But I think Kapila Mahamuni is attributed to having first given out the Sankhya Shastra, the proper way in which we can analyze things, right? The proper avalokana, like the proper analysis is possible because thanks to the way the elemental truth have been presented to us, by Kapila Mahamuni. I think that's the Sankhya Shastra being spoken. So, Sarva Karmanam Siddhaye, Etani Pancha Karanani Me Nibodha. Learn from me these five things that contribute to the success of every action. O Mahabahu, O responsible Arjuna, right? And this is perhaps is the reason because the independence of the doership. So we are not independent because we are only one minute entity, one fractional entity of what all are coming together for success of any endeavor. Now, for any endeavor to get successful, there are multiple things that come into play, not just the doer. The doer can only bring in his ichha, his desire, and his prayatna, his effort. And obviously the jnana. Jnana is a very transient kind of a thing, right? The more we do, the more we learn. So jnana is a transient kind of a thing. So we can only bring in the ichha shakti, the kriya shakti, and the jnana shakti. Right? When we a few days down the line, we will hear Navaratri. Exactly 15 days from now, we will have Navaratri starting. Then Navaratri is all about worshipping the Devi. Devi is the one that will help us with the Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti and the Jnana Shakti. Basically, Durga is for Kriya Shakti, Lakshmi for the Icha Shakti, the Satvika Icha, and Saraswati for the Jnana Shakti. We will hear more about her come Navaratri. But we can only bring in the Icha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti as a kartri, as a doer, as a incidental doer, not the independent doer. The independence lying only with the Bhagavan, right? Now he's explaining the tattva behind it. Why we say that no man is independent in his doership. No, the only independent doer is the Bhagavan. I think now he's explaining the tattva behind it. He's telling, for the success of every action, there are five things that are necessarily contributing to the success, according to the Sankhya Shastra, right? Learn them from me. So basically, now this is one more pratigna Krishna is making to Arjuna, that learn these things from me. Let's see what Aurobindo says. These five causes, O mighty arm, Mahabaho Arjuna, learn of me, as laid down by the Sankhya Shastra, that are the reason for accomplishment of all work, for the successful outcome, in any work. Right? That's the reason. We'll see the next shloka. Yeah.
अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता करणं च पृथग्विधं विविधाश्च पृथक् चेष्टा दैवं चैवात्र पञ्चमम्. Adhishtanam, the body, tatha, also, karta, the doer, the soul, karanam, senses, cha, and prithak vidham, various kinds, vividhaha, many, cha, and prithak, distinct, cheshtaha, effort, daivam, divine providence, cha eva atra, these certainly are the causes, panchamam, the fifth. अत्र अधिष्ठानं तथा कर्ता पृथग्विधं करणं च विविधाः पृथग्विधाः च दैवम् एव च पञ्चमम्. कृष्ण कृष्ण.
Krishna Krishna. So he's talking about five things that will contribute to the success of any action, right? And these five are basically adhisthana. Adhisthana is the location, the place of action. Sometimes it can be referred to the body. The body is the place of action. And also the physical location, kshetra, right? The laboratory, if you are performing a lab experiment, the laboratory, the garage, if there is any startup being founded, the garage is the place, the garage startup. We have a lot of this. So the place of action has a role to play, right? Karta, then there is an incidental doer. There is no absolute kartrutva, but there is a datta swatantra. There is a karta. The absolute karta is Bhagavan, right? But we are also doer because we can bring in our effort, our desire, the rightful desire, and our effort and our knowledge, how much ever we possess as of now. Right? None of us will have absolute knowledge. We all learn, and life is a never-ending learning experience, right? So karta, karta is that whatever limited doership that we bring. That is one. The adhisthana, the place of action is one. The doer is one. And pratak vidham karanam. There are different types of karana, antak karana, the instruments, right? When we look at our own body, the instruments could be the indriyas, the pancha jnanendriyas, pancha karmendriyas, the eyes, the hearing, the nose, the tongue, the skin, the hands, the feet. There are multiple things that are karana, antakarana. Antakaranas are also the manas, which is processing them all. The buddhi is also an antakarana. Vivida pratak karana. All different types of instruments that can be brought out, right? And why are they being called out separately to the body and the doer? Because in the body, the wellness of the body, the age of the body has a primary role to play. And the karta, his icha is different, his jnana is different, right? So Pruthak with the karana is also different because for each of these karana, antak karana, there is a bespoke abhimani devata. The paurusha, the purushatva, the godly particle that will come and impact each of them is different, right? The indriyas could be different. My ability to smell is different to my ability to process the information. Similarly, my ability to see is different. My ability to learn from what I touch is different. Like my ability to run is different. My knowledge of running is, they're all different. So he says the pratak vidha karanam. And in our other outside the body, whatever actions we do, there are different instruments that we call out for action, right? Some people might take some amazing, cutting edge instruments to perform the same action, and some people might use some ancient archaic instruments to perform the action, right? So there are different vidha, different varieties of instruments that can be called out. So the doer is one, place of doing is one, the different instruments that are called out to do the action are one. And vividaha pratakchestaha. And also there are different methods that we follow, right? Different methods of action that we follow. Procedural, flaws there are, right? So that's the fourth one. There are different procedures that we follow. And Daivam Chaiva Atra Panchamam, the providence. Some people call it Daiva, the providence. Those who are the believers in providence. People who don't believe in the providence, they call it luck. Like in Sanatana Dharma, luck is called Adrishta. Adrishta, right? Adrishta is basically not seen. Na drishta. Whatever is not seen, there is something that place which is not seen, cannot be detected through the naked eye. So that's the luck. Luck is basically adrishta, na drishta, right? It's not seen. And some people who want to believe, in a more positive frame of mind, they call it as daiva. Because when you recognize there is something as daiva, then you can do something about it. Maybe enhancing about it, maybe pleasing it, maybe at least the journey begins. But if you try to completely avoid its presence and keep calling it as luck, there is nothing much we can do about it, right? We just call it as luck and leave it there. But when we recognize it as daiva, then there is more analysis can happen around the concept of daiva, right? More can be done around daiva. So Krishna calls it as daiva, right? Because Krishna's message back in the 16th chapter is that the daivi sampat, people who acquire proper knowledge, people who get to the proper discernment of things around, are the ones who consider this world to have Ishvara. There is an Ishvara Tattva. Anishvara Tattva is only followed by Asuri Swabhava people. Right? So basically Krishna is telling the Karta, if you think you do, you're only 20%. There are four other factors that will contribute, which is basically the seat, the place of the location. There is Pratak Vidha Karana, there are multiple instruments. There are Pratak Vidha Chestaha, different procedural impellations. Then there is Daiva, the Adrishta, the unseen providence. Right? These are the five things for any action to be successful. These are the five things that need to come together. When we understand that correctly, when we understand this holistically, we get to understand as to why we are Nimitta Karana. We are not the absolute doers of anything. Right? Technically, whatever was spoken back in the fifth chapter, right? Nakatrittum na karmani lokasya siddhi prabhu na karma phala sanyogam subhavastu pravartate nadatte kasachit papam. There is no independent doership upon any one of us. Right? Now he's giving the technical elaboration because Arjuna's desire is tattvataha veditum ichchami. So this chapter is all about tattva, very, very in a very, very unsuspecting way, in a very, very uncomplicated, jargonish way. So Krishna is explaining why nobody has independence in their doership because there are five things that contribute, and these are the five things. The Aurobindo interpretation says these five are the body, the doer, the various instruments, and the many kinds of efforts, and at last the fate, the providence, the luck, the daiva. Daiva is basically God. I think it's 9:34 now. 9:30 is where we conclude this room. From shloka number 15, we'll perhaps look at it from next Saturday. I think we are in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita now. I think in the next month or so, I think in a month or so, we should be able to complete the entire Bhagavad Gita Pratipadartha Chintana that we started almost 2 years ago, right? 2021 December is when we started this journey. So we started the daily chanting roughly around September, and once we were familiar, after 3 months of chanting, on a daily basis, after completing about some 15, 16 rounds of chanting, we started Pratipadartha so that we were some bit familiar with the shlokas before we could look at the meaning, right? So it's always essential to get familiar with the shlokas before we get down to looking at the meaning of those shlokas. And we started this exercise back in December 2021. So today, September 23, little less than 2 years, we are in the final chapter. I think within a month, I think by end of October or first week of November, we should be done with the entire Gita. So we continue from shloka 15 next Saturday. In the meanwhile, if anybody has any thoughts, any questions, any remarks, you're welcome to share it with us. We would certainly appreciate that. Sudhaji, anybody has anything? Thoughts? I think we could conclude the room. Thanks everyone for joining. This is a small endeavor we do. Not that, we can ever know the meaning completely. Whatever little we do is what we do. Leshatah. That's what we call out as a disclaimer at the beginning of this by the Mangala. Gitartham Vakshyami Leshatah. It's only little of the Gitartha that we can think of. We continue this endeavor. Thanks once again, everyone. And please also refer this group, this forum, to those one or two people that we all know of who may want to benefit from such an exercise being conducted. Right, on the reverse count of three, let's conclude the room now. Those of you who are in good space can join us in a small Jaya Ghosti in the name of our Gita Acharya, Bhagavan Shri Krishna. 3, 2, 1. Namaste Vasudevaya Priyasame Priyottama Samasta Guna Sampurna Nirdosha Nandadayine Mukopi Yat Prasadena Mukunda Shayanayate Rajarajayate Rikto Raghavendram Tamashray Bharati Ramana Mukhya Pranantarata Shri Gopala Krishna Priyasam Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. Have a wonderful day and a beautiful week ahead, everyone. Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Shri Krishna.
Jai Jai Shri Krishna.